Hey guys, welcome to the Techpoint Africa podcast. My name is Emmanuel.
I'm Oluwanifemi.
I'm Chingozwe.
And I'm Bolo.
Yeah, this week is almost gone. So fast, so soon. Yeah, anything eventful?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Salary week.
Salary week, okay.
Oh, that's something.
Time to be that tech bro that you know and send that uncle message for urgent 2K. This is just like
Perfect timing.
Yeah, from now to the end of the month, just time. So, but yeah, to all of us, those of you who have been listening to Techpoint Africa podcast, we've seen your reactions online. I really appreciate you. And to those who've been dragging us,
we love you.
Yeah, what she said.
No strings attached. We really do.
Yeah. So let's move on, and there are exciting stories to talk about today too. So Uber just announced that they've completed 1 billion rides in Africa. That was yesterday, I guess. So what's going on with that?
It's nice, but I don't know.
What's nice about it?
I know how nice it is, right? Yeah, you know, when you reach milestones, you should celebrate them, right? And this is one of Uber's milestone as one of the first ride-hailing companies in the world. Uber entered Africa in 2013, and it just announced that it has recorded its 1 billionth ride in Africa. I don't know what to feel about it, because it's the same year that Uber entered Africa that it's also entered India and South Asia. And India and South Asia reached their 1 billionth ride in 2018. Wow. That was 5 years after it launched in that region. So I don't know what to feel about this. In UK, if you want to compare again, it reached its 1 billionth ride in 10 years. So I think Africa rather is better than UK when you want to compare it now.
The comparison, do you think is fair? 1 billion people versus
an entire continent versus
just one of the smallest countries.
And not to even mention that this is a country that has a functional transportation system
already.
Okay. So people will focus more on the public
Uber
transport.
Probably just be nice to have, not necessarily
Right.
the main thing.
But yeah, as I said, I don't know what to feel. But on a lighter note, when Uber recorded its 1 billionth ride in UK, it gave the person that ordered the 1 billionth ride, no, not a car, free Uber rides for 10 years.
Can they afford that in
10
Nigeria?
years.
10 years.
They use Uber for charter.
If you try
God.
But that's on a lighter note. But I just feel like Uber's entering into Africa gave room to other ride-hailing apps, even local ones, aside boats, to open up and start operating in the continent.
Right. So
yeah,
I guess that there's something to feel there in this instance, right? Africa's mobility sector. There are lots and lots of conversations to have around mobility in Africa, and the sector has witnessed some kind of ups and downs. You have high and lows. I remember when Gokada, Mags, and Oride were storming the streets of Lagos, and man, those guys were something else during that period. And all of a sudden, in late January 2020, everything went crashing down. But even though it went crashing down for motorcycle hailing companies, we've seen other companies in the mobility space like GIG Mobility, Plenty Waka, which is now Trips, and Shuttlers. We've been seeing those guys techifying mobility, as it were, in Africa. So, but there are lots of conversations to be had around this, right? What is really happening in the space? What are the issues these people are facing? And what kind of narratives do we need to be having about mobility in Africa? This Uber narrative now is just one aspect. There are several other aspects. I mean, I talked with Ogheneruemu Oneyibo, the newly appointed CEO of GIG Mobility, and he had some interesting perspective, and he gave us a sneak peek on what to expect, because as it is now, the players in Africa's mobility space are gearing up to have serious conversations about mobility in Africa. They want to actually try to shape the narrative. So with that, they're launching the inaugural Africa Mobility Conference, and to be taking place on June 2, 2022.
we cannot forget quickly what happened in 2020 with the ban of bike hailing in Lagos State, right? And the conversation has to be had about regulations, about how this the solution they are bringing, how we can embrace the solutions they are bringing, how we can put them, like add them into our daily lives without feeling threatened. You get, and I feel it's an event that has come at perfect time.
Yeah. Beyond the whole tech stuff, there's one key, very, very basic issue that needs to be addressed, and Inaho actually pointed that out in our conversation.
So that, but it's important that we really, really talk about the issue of insecurity for people who are traveling and be able to come up with certain things, certain discourse that we will push to the government about it. That is like extremely key. No matter how much people fly, we're going to have multiple of people who are traveling. So if one person is flying, maybe another 1,000 is traveling by the road.
That needs to be discussed actually.
Yep.
Yeah, it really, really needs to be discussed because recently people are scared to travel, right? Especially interstate travels and leaving your geopolitical zone, going to other geopolitical zones. It's very, very scary to travel. It is. We need to have the conversation.
Yep. So we'll be linking to this conversation we had with the new CEO of GIG Mobility, and of course, in that article, you'll see the link to register. It's completely free, and try to get your slot as soon as possible. So yeah, there's that for mobility in Africa. So talking about Africa, talking about mobility, talking about regulations, Kenya is up to something really, really interesting.
Okay, so Kenya has plans, or not really just plans. They are rolling out a telemedicine program across the country. So on the last episode of the podcast, we were talking about Nigeria taxing alcohols in order to provide health insurance. So Kenya is deciding to launch a telemedicine program across the country. So basically the idea is that not everyone can access quality health care, especially if you're in the rural area, because I think much of Africa is really very much similar. So if you're in the rural areas, you probably have less access to a doctor or doctors compared to someone in urban areas. So the idea is that people who are far away can actually access quality health care. So to do that, the government is setting aside 600 million shillings, that's like $5 million, to lay this foundation. So one of the things that the Dr. Joseph Sitieni, I hope I pronounced that
Please
right.
forgive Chingozu.
Yeah, so
Yeah, right.
he's the head of the Health Service Management Department in the Kenyan Ministry of Health. And one of the things that he said that was very striking for me was, if we cannot provide enough skilled staff in all our health facilities, we can surely take the skilled staff to the rural areas through telemedicine. And this is important because Kenya has a doctor-to-patient ratio of about 1 to 3,000. That's like 3 times above the ratio that the UN recommends. So the UN says at least 1 to 1,000, and that's like bad as bad.
Mm-hmm.
But they have 1 to 3,000, and with these plans, they are actually going to reach a whole lot of people. So they started this previously, and then they're also layering medical records as well. So like you can walk into any of these telemedicine centers and your health records are synced regardless of where you are. So it's very interesting because it means you could be in, I don't know, Nairobi, for example, one remote area in Nairobi, and you go to another part of Kenya. I don't really know Kenya, so you go to another place, but you just walk in, your health records are downloaded. So one of the things he also said is complete collection of quality health data is the backbone of planning and evidence-based decision making. This is only possible when we adapt and deploy technology in all service delivery points. So
Sounds like something I can relate with. Like, sorry, let me rephrase that.
Why you apologize?
Wait, okay, well, thank you very much. I don't have to apologize, right? No, it's startups that come up with ideas like this. Normally, when you talk about healthcare, right now, for a government to now think this up, and have plans to follow it through. I find it commendable.
Yeah, I think every government should, especially in Africa where we have like almost absent healthcare services. I think it's important that governments take the lead, because unlike education, I mean, you could probably get menial jobs if you're not educated, but if you get menial healthcare,
You will die.
you will die. So I think the first thing every government should focus on is providing quality healthcare. And considering how costly it is to actually provide health services, then it just makes sense that the government leads that conversation. Because if you're going to, one of the reasons why they're doing this is that doctors are more likely to spend time in urban areas.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know too many doctors who would opt to stay in the rural areas when they could easily move to Lagos. Right? So if you would rather go there, then it makes sense, like what you're saying. If we can't get to them, then how about it's basically bringing them or bringing healthcare very, very close to them. So yeah, I think that
so
makes sense.
I'm thinking of how that would work. So 2 scenarios.
Yeah.
If you're trying to serve people in rural areas, right, and they might not have the devices to access telemedicine services.
Okay.
But then I thought that, what if there's a clinic, health center,
Exactly.
that has like
Which is
a
what they're
laptop or a device that supports telemedicine?
doing. Yeah.
So when they come to consult, you
Yeah.
just link to the doctor in the rural area and they will consult. That's
That's
cool.
actually what they're doing. But funny enough, it looks like that's not much of a problem, because data from the Communications Authority of Kenya is saying that active mobile SIM card subscriptions are like 64.4 million. This is as at last year. And that's like a serious population, or a serious percentage of the population. Internet subscriptions are like 46.7 million people, or 46.7 million subs. And that's 99% of it are mobile data subs. So obviously a lot of people, a lot of
Can have
Kenyans,
access to.
they have access to these devices, and they can actually access healthcare.
Yeah, looking at the stats, Kenya actually leads the rest of Africa when it comes to internet penetration. Like 87% of their population has access to the internet. So the medicine can actually work well and better than it would. So this is making me think about the whole healthcare system we operate. As against startups doing stuff like this. We have a government doing stuff like this. Which should be the ideal case? Which should be what we should run with? Should we let private companies just move fast, run fast, and innovate fast? Or we let government run point on this? Or what am I even saying? Can we let?
So it reminds me of the conversation we had during Techpoint building in January this year, when we had startup founders discuss in a panel session about where you balance healthcare. Should we leave public healthcare to the government, or we should leave it to these private companies?
Yeah.
So there was a unanimous agreement among the founders that whether, no matter the number of health tech startups that are in a country, they cannot fill in the gap that the government is supposed to fill. So it has to be a cooperation between them, right? They can't, no one can do it on either the government or health tech startups, right? So it has to be 2 of them coming together, especially when it comes to sharing data. So I don't know which startup was talking about an API that will allow you to be able to access a patient data anywhere you go to.
I think
right?
Freedom Health was, I don't know if they've launched it, but I think they have.
Right. So if that works, and you have your data with a government hospital, when you go to a private hospital, when you go to a health, like Reliance Health platform, for instance, right, you can find your medical history from what was sent from the public hospital you get. So it has to be a collaboration between both of them.
I think I also agree, because so one of the issues that health tech founders have is you're building like EMR, that's electronic medical records, and you come to a hospital and then they are giving you attitude because one, they see you as a competitor first of all, and they wouldn't want to like give you their records because if you have my records, potentially you also have my patients.
Yes.
Or you could
Government or
target-
private?
No, private.
Okay.
Like currently. So when that happens, it's difficult because they can't sync. Like hospitals can't work like together. So what happens if I was staying in Lagos and then I relocate to Abuja, for example, and I now have to do a fresh set of tests? What if it's an emergency situation and there isn't enough time for them to like get my medical history
Exactly.
and all? So what happens? Well, like I think a situation where the government leads, for example, something like this. So if the government actually leads medical records, for example, they can easily, they don't really need to mandate you, but I think it's easier for
When
the
they
government.
they're easier to follow.
Yeah, because I mean, if the government tells you, hey, submit your records, not like they will make it a
You
must, but
can
like they
even
tell you,
put
okay,
it in the
submit your records.
regulations.
Basically, what we need is open banking for healthcare, right?
Something like that, at least for for records.
For
Yes.
healthcare records, exactly. So private hospitals are now mandated to share hospital records and all of that. So yeah, I think that's cool, and it's making me think about a lot of things that the government is actually be mandating us to do and use. All the way in Central African Republic, the government is coming up with something else to try.
You were in the news recently, right?
Yeah, when
Yeah.
news, they were, if you remember, they're one of the first countries in the world to actually accept Bitcoin. But now it seems they want to actually mandate something regarding investment, please.
Okay, I won't say mandate, but let's take the story from
The top.
the beginning. Yes, let's
Okay.
take it from
In the beginning, sorry.
Yes, in the beginning. Yeah, so earlier this month, there was news. Central African Republic was in the news about them trying to adopting Bitcoin as a legal tender. But then we got an update from Times of India that said it wasn't actually a legal tender, that is a reference currency. But with the reports we've been seeing so far,
Tomato.
exactly, which when we even say reference currency, I think that even makes it worse, because why would you make something as volatile as Bitcoin a reference currency? So it's still the same thing, reference currency, legal tender, hey. But what the reason why they are not in the news again is because they are trying to create an investment platform for cryptocurrencies. Basically, they are calling it an investment hub, like a digital hub for cryptocurrencies. There's little that has been reviewed on it, but they've launched a website and they actually have a waiting list for people to join.
Have you joined?
He's a Nigerian.
No, I trust him. We should
They
try.
actually, you can, if you want to join, you tell them the country you're from. You can also contribute. You can contribute to any way you want
That's
to.
cool.
Do I have to drop money?
No. From
can
what
contribute
I see,
wisdom,
they
abi?
said you can contribute from. There are several sectors. There's design and construction, education, energy, entertainment and culture.
How does all that time
I-
crypto?
I guess we'll find out.
So the investment hub, what am I investing in? Am I using crypto to invest in something, or am I investing in something and you give me crypto?
Okay, so why exactly did they decide to create this? So from what the president said, he said what he was saying was still all about why the country wants to use Bitcoin, why they need Bitcoin in the tender, and he's saying that the formal economy is no longer an option. He's saying that it keeps us stuck in a bureaucracy that does not give a chance to be competitive. And I'm like, okay.
In simple terms.
Okay, yes, he wants a system. I guess don't let me say because it seems like it's the old exactly that really wants that stuff. And when you think about it, you really need to. You can't exist as an island. You can't exist alone. And when you decide to accept Bitcoin as a legal tender or reference currency, whichever one, how do you relate bilateral relationships with other countries? How do you work out exchanging, importation, exportation, stuff like that? And it's going to get quite complicated. And we've seen the IMF come at them, telling them, see, this thing can really work out. We've seen the central bank for the 6 states that use the CFA franc, which is actually the currency that Central African Republic uses before they decided to adopt.
To go AWOL.
Exactly,
To
go all in on Bitcoin. And just like a lot of people have had their doubts about them accepting Bitcoin as a legal tender, people have the same issues that surrounds that decisions keep coming up again. The issues of them not having enough internet penetration, not having enough electricity.
They should run USSD.
I don't know why.
They're in debt too.
And it's surprising because just according to data reporters, they actually have in 2020 655,000 people in Central African Republic had internet connectivity.
And that's a country of how many people?
Out of 4.83 million people.
Okay. Not bad.
But
You think?
then
That's not bad.
it is
Probably
bad. It is bad.
I was
Come on.
expecting was actually. I was expecting was.
Yeah, but it's bad. So what will happen to the rest? Is it that they'll go and they'll start doing trade by barter when everybody?
No. Momo for Bitcoin, something like that.
I don't know why
Yes,
this
they
comes up
actually
to me
mentioned
as
something like that.
a virtue signaling, for lack of a better word. I mean,
I said it.
a terrible government or a country that doesn't have any, like, you're poor. Why the hell
You're
is
in debt.
Bitcoin? You're in debt. Why is Bitcoin? I mean, everybody's in debt, so that one day. Why is Bitcoin
The
a
next thing.
serious issue for you? Why do you want to die on this hill?
So I'm thinking about it in this way, right? If this particular tool you've been using has not been working for you, decide to use a different tool. So I'm looking at Bitcoin from this stance as a tool for economic maneuvers, right? Financial maneuvers. So if they want to actually try to change things up, maybe they'll try to use a different tool. But at the end of the day, it's still a tool. If
If the underlying problems are still
not
there,
addressed, if the system is rotten, it's just no. But seriously, Bolu, this year Web3 people are giving me headache.
like they are very, very.
Every
Another
other
interesting
week.
thing about it is the name of the investment hub. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I have several pronunciations for it.
Apologies in advance.
Okay, one is Sango. You can call it Sango. Another is Shango. I don't know if you are Yoruba. But it's spelled S-A-N-G-O.
Okay, Project Shango.
Yeah, exactly.
Shango.
Project Sango. You should have checked up the pronunciation. Okay, how do you want to know that?
Exactly. So they have a wait list. You can go and join. You can join the wait list.
I should join Project Shango.
And now,
Your church might do not allow you.
don't worry.
Okay. For the sake of church mind, we just say Project Shango.
Exactly.
Ogun State, Nigeria. So anyway, that's cool, but let's still hang on to Web3, right? Africans are trying to, from what I can see, right, Africans are trying to use Web3 as this tool to upend all the issues they're having.
Yeah.
And we're hearing on another one, the whole issue of Europeans coming to steal our artifacts, the vestiges of our history. They want to use
Black Panther.
Oh, okay. I watched mine in the journey of an African colony or something. Yeah, the documentary on Netflix. So they stole artifacts. They stole a lot of things, but instead of going to pull a Michael B. Jordan in Black Panther and steal it from the museum directly, we want to loot it digitally. Will you please explain how they want to loot digital
Okay.
art?
Yeah, so there's been a new development in the NFT space.
I mean, there's a new development every day.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this space is just it's hard to keep up with, but we are trying our best. So a gentleman by the name of Chidi Nwambani, please. Pardon me. Nwambani, yes.
Apologies again. Bolu, you're making me apologize anyhow.
I'm sorry. So he has created an NFT project called Luti. So Luti is why is it
They want to loot.
I mean, think about it. They looted you, now you're using
okay, but
Want to use tech Web3 to loot things
Exactly.
back.
I mean,
You will not finish us.
Alright, so what CD is actually trying to do is it's calling it the digital repatriation of looted art. So what he does is he goes to museums, scans those looted arts, like museums outside Africa, for example in the UK where they have the Benin artworks and the artifacts. He scans them, they turn them into a 3D representation of that particular artifact, and then they create it into an NFT, and then they put it on the website where people can go and see them or also even buy them. So in a way, instead of going to
A museum?
Yes, in the UK, to go and see the things that they've taken from your forefathers, TD is bringing it to you so you can
So
look at it.
quick question. Do you pay to view?
No, you don't pay to view.
You don't pay to view. So only
But you
when you
can
buy,
buy.
or you
Yes.
can buy.
You can buy.
Alright, so we're talking about privacy during tabs. You just walk into my museum, you scan something, and then you walk out and place it on the website.
Okay, so TD, according to what I read on Reuters, they said the procedure, what it's doing is they've checked it and it's absolutely legal.
Okay, sorry, Madam Producer, we need 1 minute to trash this out.
Yeah, very important.
Please.
Okay.
Yeah, continue.
All right. So he scans it and then he puts it on the platform and then you can go and see. They said it's absolutely legal. The whole process is legal. So 20% of whatever the NFT makes goes to young Africans, young African artists that are actually trying to create their own artworks and things like that. So what is actually trying to solve with this is two things. There's the digital repatriation side of it, and there's also the side of African artists that would have used those artifacts if they had seen them as a source of inspiration. So for example, now Ngozi might not be at Techpoint, maybe he will be somewhere in Aba constructing sculptures. Due to
Why now?
he would have been inspired.
So, Arodipo Dynasty.
He would have been inspired if he was able to see those things if they're not taken from us. Ngozi would have been creating some of really beautiful artworks.
Don't throw that to the
So that's the two things Chidi is trying to achieve with this. I reached out to him on Twitter actually, but I didn't get a response. Well, I hope if he's listening to this, he would respond and let us trash this out more. Tell us what he really hopes to solve and answer some of the questions we have. But I spoke to someone and what they had in mind was that, okay, the best thing would have been to actually connect the lineage or like people who did these things to those NFTs so that they also get a cut or a percentage whenever he sells these NFTs. But then how easy is it to track
Exactly.
these people down?
Okay.
Is that really possible?
So, what's the name of this person again? Sorry.
Chidi.
Okay. So the person's name is Chidi, right?
Yeah.
So, and he's trying to recover artifacts, right?
Not really recover.
Digitally
Repatriate.
repatriate the
Digital
artifacts.
repatriation,
Good. But it seems to me like just going to snap those things and creating NFTs out of it.
Yeah.
That's all it is to me. Because if I don't buy those arts, I can just go online and see it. I can go to YouTube and watch, like, in fact, at Google I/O conference, they announced immersive view in Google Maps. So on Google Maps, you can actually, when you search for a street on Google Maps and you can see the picture of the street.
360.
With the immersive experience, you can actually, it's not like actually, just
Let them make it live.
collation of pictures, so you
Okay,
can
these are
enter
fine
inside
now.
buildings.
Enter buildings.
Yes.
Public spaces.
Public spaces now.
Wow.
So I imagine that happening with museums. So why do I need to go to an NFT website to go and look at pictures?
Chidi is actually also planning the same thing. Before the project actually launched in May 13, but before they launched, I saw an interview on BBC, not a physical interview, an article on BBC where he spoke to them. And then one of his plans is actually to create a metaverse. Say a museum that you can actually walk.
That you can walk inside and you see these things. You can walk around, look at the back of the sculptures.
So
Yeah.
the essence of this thing is not being able to see it.
Yes, it's
I think we are missing the whole point of repatriating these artifacts, right? if I want to see those artifacts and be inspired by what my people did a long time ago, I look for it on YouTube. Or if I have the money, I go to UK and look at it. I don't care where it is. I want to know that, okay, the ancient Benin Empire, I'm from Edo State, by the way. I want to know that, okay, these guys were actually brilliant people and they constructed a lot of amazing stuff. I can just go to the museum and see it. So the essence is bringing them back to the original owners of that artifact.
That's the reason they can solve the
So
problem.
you're saying doing this digitally really does not.
Doing it digitally.
I think it's just
attaching NFTs to it.
It's rubbish.
Ouch.
This is what
CD,
a lot of
Ouch.
this is what a lot of tech people do. They have this. You have an idea of what you think is a problem,
Okay.
so you create a solution without asking or
this a
discovering whether
problem?
people actually care about what you're doing. Then you launch it. I mean, it's very easy.
You don't
Barrier
know
to entry is
whether-
quite low.
Whether his forefathers are smiling on him from wherever they are.
Like,
Forefathers.
it
So
makes no
look at
sense.
there's something Chinua Achebe said in Things Fall Apart. Okonkwo was musing to himself and he was saying, oh, so I will not look back on this particular place and look at the place. It will be cold, the ashes of people that's supposed to be burning incense or libations before me. It will be cold, nobody will be there. That particular land, that location is actually important. We should be able to go to that. So, what is the economic value for Stonehenge in the UK? What is the use to the UK if, imagine, Stonehenge was in another country and they're not saying, oh, Stonehenge used to be in Britain. Okay, you know what?
Now
Let's
you can
recover
go
it
on the
digitally
website.
and put it on as an
No,
NFT.
I feel sad.
And I think when you also think about it, which is also why I would really love to speak to Chidi himself, so he might give answers to some of these questions that we have. I know 20% is going to young artists. The remaining 80%
It's going to where?
is going to where? I didn't-
Is it going to-
Obviously,
is it
the
going
person who is running it.
Is
or
it going to the
artist.
Oba of Benin? Is it going to the Obi of Onitsha? Is it going to
Yeah.
the Sultan of Sokoto or the Emir of Kano?
So if it's going to the creators of this platform, then it really defeats the purpose.
I think any move
it's more
to
like a move
reparate-
to profit.
Any move to repatriate the so-called art that we lost is, I really don't see how it's going to help us. I mean, this is several years after it happened, possibly close to 100 years after it happened. I'm just wondering, what's the value of knowing that or seeing the things that my ancestors did?
There is value in it.
What's the,
Not
what's the
to
value?
play the devil's advocate here. We are speaking from our own view.
Okay.
That's just this. We don't know what is of value to who. Right? This 3D virtual artifacts or whatever it is you want to call it might be very, very valuable to some people.
True.
Right. So let me just add that.
Okay.
Yeah, but if you can actually bring the you're talking about the how why is it valuable? Why is seeing something that was created some thousands of years ago valuable? I think it's valuable. It's important to see what the people before you have created, so you have an idea.
What if I can read about it? Or what if I've been told about it? So I know that my people did this
and I saw the pictures.
and I've seen pictures. So why do I need to see them physically? Is there like a spiritual experience you have when you see them physically?
Don't negate that spiritual experience. Don't negate
No, that's what I'm
Please,
There could be.
let's
Like
wish
there
you
could be-
did
there
the
could be a
best,
spiritual-
please.
Have you not gone to museums before where they tell you don't touch something? They are not done to yam or something. No, it's true, nah.
I asked this because I went to when I was a child, I went to the War Museum in Umuahia, and it's supposedly a relic of the Biafran War. And yes, I went as a kid, but that memory doesn't exactly excite me. It doesn't make
You have
me
a code that.
possibly I've been told that, but I mean it doesn't make me understand the plight of these guys a little bit better. I mean, I entered the ship. That was sunk. I think there was the so-called flying Ogheneruemu that was used, that was invented. Then I saw all of these things, and yes, I had this idea that okay, these guys were quite innovative. Yeah, they fought really hard, like against all odds and all. But how does that help you currently? How?
Okay, I see your point, but let me just give you a counterpoint. In 111, when I was in 111 University, I read about Ayilala. It's a name deity.
Is it?
Ayilala is the billionth.
Okay.
Sounds very
okay. Let's not drag that.
It's from
Okay.
Don't worry.
it's from Waterside in Ondo State now.
I hear you.
I was even talking
Okay.
about it.
Okay, now I've heard.
Okay,
Okay.
State has Waterside too. Okay. Continue.
So I read about Ayilala. Then you had to go to Ayilala Shrine for an excursion. The experience of going to Ayilala Shrine was actually different. If I had read about it or whatever I'd read, would not compare to actually seeing everything online. Then the chief priest actually telling you the stories behind every artifact you are seeing. What we,
Wait, they allowed you to go to a chief priest to a shrine?
yeah, the only people that could not enter were women that were not supposed to go there. So, but seeing that in real life, then seeing what is basically a Yoruba hunter in front of an Edo shrine made me appreciate like the intersection of Yoruba and Edo culture, which you guys just shouting now that Ayilala is a Yoruba. Yes, it's you hear some names in Edo, their language or dialect, and you think it's a Yoruba word. So it happens. So for you to actually appreciate history, for you to actually appreciate your cultural heritage, and I'm going to leave it there. So guys, it's been an interesting one, and try to make sure you get to this point so that you hear a lot of just keep okay, yeah, it's been an interesting one, and it's been an exciting week. A lot of things happening in tech, and yeah, artifacts, history, Bitcoin, legal tenders, everything, the whole 9 yards. We're going to come back next week, and we'd like to hear what you think. Right? Tweet at us with the hashtag Techpoint Africa Podcast, or email us with the podcast at Techpoint Africa. And if you're listening to us for the first time, or you've been listening, you've not been sharing, please share if you're finding this interesting and insightful. And where else can we get the podcast? Where can we get the podcasts? Bolu, you are looking at me.
I'll do the same thing I did last time. You can find us on Google Podcast. That sounds like Coco for me. Okay. Google Podcast, Apple Podcast,
Spotify, iHeartRadio,
Stitcher, Podcast Addict, and anywhere else you get your podcast. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.